So after the kind of brief help out with the scouts, then you get like the gig at Crown with Michael
Yeah.
Kresh and all those guys.
Yep.
They were really trying to make some moves, and
Yeah, they
I don't want
had.
to say like resurrect Crown, but I would just say try to put them in the spotlight.
Yeah, the percussion was the weak link in their minds back then. And when I came in, I was basically to rebuild the percussion program from and now I was there from '07 to 11. Um, and basically just brought that drum line, shot it through the stratosphere, try to get them again, rebuilding, learning, knowing what I know how to do, right? With
Mm-hmm.
all the guys who I've taught over the years, or, I kind of filled the drum line up, or the drum staff up with those guys. By the way, another note too is Rudy started teaching with me. Rudy Garcia started
Mm-hmm.
teaching with me
Yeah.
in '02 Crossman. So I added him with Frank and the boys, and so it's kind of like I just started adding on more guys, and then by the time I got the Crown, I had this huge. I had Zach, I had a bunch of other guys from Madison, right? So there's a bunch of connections.
So you
You can
kind of
start to
built
make.
this teaching roster like throughout
Yeah.
your career
Yes.
of different groups and stuff. You're like, oh, we'll take these
Yes.
two people from this corps that marched for me, and then I'll give them a job here. And then now you're at a
Right.
point where it's like, all right, I got a gig here. Let's pull. Who's available? Who's
That's
available
There's
right.
here?
Zach and there's Rudy and there's James
Yeah.
Sparling. There's Eric Kraft.
James. Yep.
There's
That's
just
Yeah.
pretty
all
Eric
these
crazy.
Pratt.
people.
Yeah. All those guys, we had connections, whether it was through Glassman, Crossman, Madison, all those years. I mean, we were just friends. It didn't
Yeah.
matter what at that point what core we were doing. It was more or less like, let's do this thing together. Why don't we build this thing at Crown? And I remember at first, a lot of people were like, "Crown, no way! I don't want to go to Crown," because nobody wanted to do their drum line there, right? It was this whole faux pas,
Hmm.
and with whether I don't know who came up with that, but I just came into that situation, and we grew that thing pretty well, pretty quick, and
Yeah,
I was pretty
'07.
I'd
pretty
say
happy.
so.
The
I mean, I
Triple
was in
Crown
high
year.
school and watched all of it, just the whole progression year to year to year. It got better and better.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was a lot of
'07
fun.
was like fifth place, like
Yeah.
right out the gate.
Yeah,
First year,
yeah,
and then '04, the Fantini show, which is great. I think Crown finished like fourth overall and maybe fourth in percussion.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
'09, I think, is probably still to date the highest percussion finish that the Corps had. We finished second. And
yeah.
then, I mean, 2010. Well, I'll back up. 2009 was, I feel like it was just a good recipe and cocktail of ingredients from my perspective as a member.
Yeah.
And you had people like Zach and Paul who were like kind of these like nose to the grindstone, this, that. And then you also had like Eric Kraft, who was like this chill vibe. And those people up in the doing the front ensemble with Ian and I'm blanking on his name.
Steve Ballard and
Yeah, Steve Ballard and those guys just
yeah.
and it was a good dichotomy of personalities that really worked. And I think the Corps was just really riding a lot of momentum, and the show was obviously killer too, so that helped.
I think if you look at '07, '08, and '09, I thought we worked together great as a staff just on the production value of the show. Like everything, if you looked at each of those shows, we had fun putting them together as a staff. When we got to 2010, I thought we felt the pressure of
It was a
almost
try
winning the
hard
year
show.
before. Yeah, it was like, okay, well, now we almost won. Now we got to try harder on doing this as opposed to having fun like we were the 3 years prior,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thought too
and
much
even
about
from
winning.
even from the get go,
Yes.
there was hurdles. Like we spent
Oh, yeah.
so long, even in camps, learning that Bernstein piece that
Yeah.
never made it to the field.
That
What
was
it?
going to be our
Mask?
opener. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
Mask.
that was a killer piece, man. We were excited about that because there was a
Dude.
percussion feature in it, the whole thing. It was awesome.
Yeah, we were throwing it down, and it never saw the light of day.
Yeah.
And there were
Yeah.
several things like that. I mean, the whole the ending of the show, the original ending, got cut.
Yeah.
And we went back to the Promise of Living reprise, which
We didn't know what we were trying to struggle how to figure this thing out, second
Yeah.
chance. What does that mean exactly, right?
Yeah, and then just in the drumline sort of thing, we had Ashley who got injured in the middle of the season, who finished out with us, and I'm glad she did. But she moved up to the front ensemble and was filling
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
We had another snare drummer that had some mental health issues, I remember we started 9, 5, and 5, and we
Yep.
ended 7, 4, and 5 because one of the tenor players had a back
Yep.
injury. He had herniated disc, and then even one of the bass drummers, bass 3, bass 4, it was originally Alan, and then he got replaced for Tim Norville in spring training. It was
I remember that.
It was just
Yes.
a wild summer where we had 9, then we went to 8, then we went back to 9, then we went to 7, then we went to 8, then we went back to 7, and like we were learning drumline drill. And I remember at one block, Andy Ebert was up in our box, and he's like, "What are y'all's dots here?" And I was like, "Andy, we don't know.
We don't know." I'll never forget my story back we were on the pavement in Salem, Virginia.
The dog show.
And we were they gave the drumline the payment for the day. It was awesome. So I was like, okay, well, we're on the blacktop here. And we had to remember, I closed everything down. I was making my own dots up back then. It was like, okay, what are we doing so wide? So when we are so wide in our sound here? Let's say snares, bring it in a little bit here and crush it in. Like we were like making our own crap up. You know, it was crazy.
What's funny, Evan's walking through the saga of like up a snare drummer, down a quad player, all this stuff, and this is changing. I just know because him and I obviously went to college together, and I was marching at Blue Stars that same summer, so I was getting like the play-by-play on a daily, weekly basis, like this crazy thing happened today, or like so like everybody in the Blue Stars drumline was like, "Hey, Crown, this was different. Like what's going on?" Like they had one less person, now they're back up, and it was like a daily or weekly saga, like coming to me for the updates on like what's going on with Crown's battery or the percussion section. It was wild.
We did
all the details.
We did an ending to the show in Atlanta, and that was the last time we did it.
Is that why we beat you all in drums in Atlanta?
Hey,
no, that was a mistake.
You know what? Hey, you texted me after that regional, and you were like, we were hyped. We're the Blue Stars. Like, we just beat Crown at drums randomly.
Absolutely.
You all been kicking our butts like the whole summer, as it should have been. You all were better than us. And I said it at the time, and I'll say it here now. But like, Evan texted me. We're on the bus leaving the whatever stadium, and he's like, that score's bullshit, right? And I was like, oh, I 100% know it's incorrect, and you're gonna beat us by at least a point tomorrow at the show. But
we'll take it.
It happened today still, so we're gonna live with it.
Yeah, whatever. It's fine.
I mean, 2010. Then 2011, we moved on, and actually, you can tell we started having fun doing the show again.
Yeah,
definitely.
You can just see it was like, hey, let's put together a cool show, right?
So 2010 obviously had its ups and downs, but 2011 it seemed like it was a better, fresher approach to just like designing the show. Like, let's just get back to doing what we do and have a better experience.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun putting that show together that year. Back to like we did the first 3 years I was there. It was like, okay, great. All right, let's have some fun. Let's put together what we think is a great drum corps show. And I think in the end, you could see that the kids were having fun and we were performing the crap out of it, right? So
it was a cool show. It was definitely a cool show.
Yeah.
Definitely.